Is it really possible to build a house in just 72 hours? I'm not talking about a tent, and I'm not talking about a garden shed that falls over when the wind blows. I'm talking about a solid, wooden cabin capable of keeping you safe, warm, and dry. Imagine standing on an empty plot of land on a Friday morning and sleeping inside your finished home by Sunday night. It sounds like a lie, doesn't it? It sounds like something impossible. But today, we are going to look at a project that defies everything we think we know about construction. We are looking at a man who took on a challenge that would break most people, building a complete easy log prefab cabin alone in 3 days. No crew, no cranes, just one pair of hands and a race against the clock. I hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Leave the name of the city where you are watching this video in the comments below. Have you ever tried to assemble a piece of furniture from a box? You know the feeling. You lose a screw, the instructions are confusing, and you end up frustrated. Now multiply that frustration by 1,000. Imagine that the furniture you are building weighs tons, and if you make a mistake, the roof could collapse on your head while you sleep. That is the reality of what we are analyzing here. This isn't just about stacking wood. It is a high-stakes puzzle where gravity is the enemy. Why would anyone do this alone? Is it bravery or is it madness? As we watch this structure rise, ask yourself, could you handle the physical toll of lifting hundreds of heavy beams without anyone to help you? The concept of a prefabricated log cabin is fascinating. It arrives on a truck, wrapped in plastic, looking like a giant deck of cards. The promise is simple. Everything is pre-cut. Everything fits perfectly. It is supposed to be easy. But easy is a dangerous word in construction. When you're alone, there is no one to hold the other end of a 20-foot beam. There is no one to double-check your measurements. If you place the first log even half an inch off, the entire building will be crooked. By the time you get to the roof, the gaps will be huge and the cabin will be ruined. The fear of that tiny, invisible mistake haunts every single moment of a build like this. Have you ever started a project and realized halfway through that you messed up the beginning? Now imagine that mistake cost you thousands of dollars. Let's talk about the foundation. You cannot just put wood on dirt. Moisture acts like a slow poison to timber. If the ground isn't perfectly level, the interlocking logs won't fit. It's like trying to zip up a jacket when the teeth are broken. It just won't work. The builder here has to be a mathematician before he can be a carpenter. He has to trust that the ground won't shift. What happens if the soil settles a week later? The whole house creates sounds, creaks, and groans as it settles. Is that the sound of the house getting comfortable or the sound of it breaking? It's a scary thought. The magic of these easy log kits is the system they use. There are no nails holding the walls together. Think about that for a second. No nails, no screws. It relies entirely on friction and weight. The wood has tongues and grooves cut into it, and they slide together to lock in place. It's an ancient technique updated for the modern world. It feels like magic, but it relies on the wood being perfect. What happens if it rains? If wood gets wet, it swells. If it swells, it changes shape. If it changes shape, it doesn't fit. This builder is not just fighting fatigue. He is fighting the atmosphere. He's racing against the rain. Could you work fast enough to beat the rain? As the walls start to go up, the rhythm changes. It looks satisfying, doesn't it? The walls rise rapidly. This is the honey trap of building. It goes so fast that you get overconfident. You start thinking, I can finish this by sunset. But as the walls get higher, the work gets harder. You have to lift heavy logs above your head. Your shoulders burn. Your back screams. And remember, he is alone. If he drops a log, there is no one to call for help. Have you ever been so tired that your hands start to shake?
Imagine having shaky hands while standing on a ladder holding 100 pounds of timber. That is the danger zone. That is where accidents happen. Why are we so obsessed with cabins like this? I think it is because we all secretly want an escape. We look at our busy lives, the traffic, the noise, the bills, and we dream of a simple wooden box in the woods. Seeing someone build one in 3 days makes that dream feel reachable. It makes you think, I could do that. But could you really? Could you handle the isolation? Building alone is a mental game. There is no one to talk to, no one to distract you. It is just you and the wood. If you get frustrated, you have to calm yourself down. If you get hurt, you have to bandage yourself. It is a test of character as much as a test of strength. The most critical moment in any build like this is the roof. The walls are easy compared to the roof. The roof is where the fear really sets in. You are high up. The wind catches the panels like sails. You are trying to align heavy beams while balancing on a narrow wall. This is the moment where most solo builders fail. They realize they physically cannot lift the ridge beam, the big piece of wood at the very top, by themselves. It is simple physics. But watch how it gets done. It requires leverage, ropes, and a lot of dangerous maneuvering. One slip here and the project is over. Would you trust yourself to walk on those beams? There is also a hidden danger in these kits that people rarely talk about: the manual. These manuals are not like a storybook. They are diagrams, numbers, and codes. A44 connects to B12. If you mix them up, you might not realize it until 3 hours later. Then you have to take the wall apart. That is the nightmare scenario. Unbuilding is twice as hard as building. The wood jams, it gets stuck, you get angry. Have you ever tried to undo a mistake when you're exhausted? It feels like the world is against you. The discipline required to check every single part number before you lift it is immense. Let's discuss the speed. 3 days, 72 hours. Why the rush? Is it just for the record, or is there a practical reason? When you open that package, the wood begins to dry out or absorb moisture immediately. It starts to twist. If you leave the kit sitting on the grass for 2 weeks, the pieces might warp so much that they become useless trash. You have to build fast. The clock starts ticking the moment you cut the plastic straps. It creates a pressure cooker environment. You cannot take a day off because you're tired. The wood waits for no one. But when you see the structure take shape, something shifts in your mind. It goes from being a pile of lumber to being a place. It develops an interior. The smell of the spruce or pine fills the air. It is a primal scent. It triggers something deep in our brains that says, this is safety. This is home. Even though it's a kit made in a factory, the result feels organic. It feels real. Do you think a house built in 3 days can last 50 years? These interlocking systems are actually incredibly strong. Because the house can move slightly, it can handle high winds and heavy snow better than some rigid houses. It bends, but it doesn't break.
Let's pause and think about the cost. Not just the money, but the trade-off. You save money by not hiring a crew. You save money by buying a kit. But you pay with your body. You pay with your time. Is it worth it? Imagine the pride of sitting on that porch, drinking a coffee, looking at the walls, and knowing that your hands touched every single inch of that structure. No one else did this. You did. That feeling is priceless. It is something you cannot buy. But is that pride worth the risk of injury? Is it worth the stress? We also need to consider the utilities. A wooden shell is not a livable house yet. It needs power, it needs water. Those things aren't in the kit. The 3-day challenge is just for the shell. The real work of making it a home comes later. But the shell is the protection. Once the roof is on, the urgency stops. You can take your time with the rest. The race is only to beat the weather. Once you are dry, you have won. There is a strange beauty in the geometry of these builds. The way the corners lock together is called a saddle notch or a box joint. It seals out the wind. When you look closely at the corners, you see the precision. If there is a gap, the wind will whistle through it all night long. Imagine trying to sleep while your house whistles at you. The builder has to hammer every log down tight. They use a heavy rubber mallet and a block of wood. Bang, 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 thousands of times. The vibration travels up your arm. By the end of day 1, your hands are numb. By day 2, you can barely make a fist. By day 3, you are running on pure adrenaline. What would you do if you found a broken piece in the kit? It happens. Wood is natural. It has knots. Sometimes a knot falls out and leaves a hole. Sometimes a board is split. In a traditional build, you just go to the store and buy another board. But in a kit, that piece is unique. It was cut by a computer in a factory specifically for that spot. If it is broken, you are stuck. You have to improvise. You have to become an engineer. That is the fear of the missing piece. It is the puzzle piece that fell under the sofa, but the sofa is a construction site. As the final day approaches in this 3-day marathon, the exhaustion is visible. You move slower. You make simple mistakes. You drop your hammer. This is when the mental fortitude kicks in. You have to remind yourself of the goal. Why did you start this? To prove something? To save money? Or just to see if you could? Most people go through life never building anything tangible. We work on computers, we send emails, we attend meetings. At the end of the day, there's nothing to touch. But here stands a cabin. It changes the landscape. A spot that was empty is now occupied. You have changed the world, even if just a tiny bit. Look at the windows and doors. They usually come as pre-hung units in these kits. They slide into openings left in the walls. But wood settles. If you screw the windows in too tight, as the log walls shrink over the years, they will crush the windows. The glass will shatter. You have to leave space for the house to shrink. It sounds crazy, right? You have to build it loosely so it can become tight later. If you don't know that secret, your house will destroy itself in a year. Did you know that? Most people don't. It is a trap waiting for the inexperienced builder.
So we come to the end of the 3 days. The roof is on, the door is hung, the builder steps back. What do you feel when you look at it? Do you feel relief? Do you feel envy? It is a compact, sturdy, beautiful little fortress. It represents freedom. It represents the ability to take care of yourself. In a world where we rely on others for everything, for our food, our power, our delivery packages, building your own shelter is a radical act of independence. This video isn't just about wood and nails. It is about human potential. It shows that one person with enough determination and a good plan can create something massive. It removes the mystery of construction. It makes you realize that a house is just a series of small steps. Put one log down, then another, then another. If you don't stop, eventually you have a house. But I have to ask you again, knowing the risks, knowing the pain, and knowing the precision required, would you buy one of these kits? Would you dare to go into the wild and build it alone? Or would you stay safe in the house you have now? The idea is tempting. The reality is brutal. But the result might just be the most satisfying thing a human can experience. Think about the first night sleeping in there. The smell of fresh timber, the silence of the woods, the knowledge that the walls around you are held together by your own hard work. That is a sleep deeper than any you have ever had. That is the reward. 3 days of hell for a lifetime of peace. Is it a fair trade? I think it might be. What do you think is the hardest part of a project like this? Is it the heavy lifting, or is it the mental stress of making a mistake? Let me know what you think. And if you had 3 days and a pile of wood, what would you build?